Good morning, class. This is Miss Allen, and today we're going to be talking about explaining the relationships in historical texts. Let's first start with reviewing our standard. So our standard for today is ELA GSE RI3, explain the relationships or interactions between two or more individuals, events, ideas, or concepts in a historical, scientific, or technical text based on specific information in the text. Our objective for today is, today I will be able to complete a graphic organizer with determining the major events in a text, the relationship between those events, including identifying the relationship between cause and effect within a text. So I'll know what I got it when I am able to determine the major events in the text, explain the cause and effect relationship, and complete the exit ticket at the end of the video. So for today's vocabulary, the two words that we will be looking at are historical text and cause and effect relationships. So a historical text is when we learn about people, events, and ideas. And cause-effect relationships tell what happened and why they happened. All right, so we're going to start off with the learning target today. Explaining relationships between people, events, and ideas will help you to understand what matters in historical texts. When reading historical texts, we learn about people, events, and ideas. Some historical texts describe simple cause-effect relationships that will tell what happened and why. Other historical texts explain how one cause led to many effects, or how several causes produced one important effect. Read the passage below. As you do, try to identify relationships between causes and their effects. During the Middle Ages, much of Africa was a mystery to Europeans. A few travelers, however, told tales of wealthy African kingdoms and endless supplies of gold. But was this true? Could fortunes be made there? By the 1400s, improvements to European sailing ships made long ocean trips possible, so Portuguese sailors began exploring along Africa's coastline. They set up trading posts and ports along the way, and other Europeans soon followed. This was because the Portuguese had discovered the stories to be true. Indeed, there was wealth to be had. Europeans could trade their goods for salt, spices, ivory, and yes, even gold. Okay, so now that we have read the text, I do want to go over what cause and effect relationships are. So, for example, cause pretty much tells why something happened. I'll give you an example. James went to the store to buy groceries. So our question is, why did James go to the store? And the answer is to buy groceries. So the cause was he needed to buy groceries, and the effect was he went to the grocery store. So when you're looking at cause and effect, you're looking at your why to be the cause and your effect to be what happened because of the cause. So now let's talk about the causes that led Europeans to travel to Africa. I'll give you a few seconds of think time to think about that. Okay, so looking at the text, we want to see what was the cause that led Europeans to travel to Africa. So when I look at the text, I see that it says, during the Middle Ages, much of Africa was a mystery to Europeans. That means they didn't know much about Africa. A few travelers, however, told tales of wealthy African kingdoms and endless supplies of gold. But was this true? Could fortunes be made there? And then it says, by the 1400s, improvement to European sailing trips made the long ocean trips possible, so Portuguese sailors began exploring along Africa's coastline. So we're looking at what is the cause of Europeans traveling to Africa. And our answer was that some travelers told the Europeans that wealth could be made in Africa because Africa was a very wealthy continent. and that kingdoms had endless supplies of gold. So that was their cause of wanting to go travel to Africa and make a fortune there. Okay, now that we have reviewed what cause and effect is, we are going to fill out this cause and effect graphic organizer. So it says, consider what you've learned about reading historical texts. According to the passage you just read, what happened? And what caused it to happen? Use the cause and effect organizer below to show how 3 causes led to one important effect. So we're looking for 3 causes. Why did it happen? Why did the first thing happen? What was the cause of the second event to happen? And what was the cause of the third event to happen? And the effect, what happened is Europeans traveled to Africa and traded with Africans. So what were the 3 events that caused Europeans to travel to Africa and trade with Africans? I'll give you a few minutes of think time. Okay, so now we're going to go to our results. We're going to compare notes, and I'll see if you guys have the same notes that I do. So for the cause, the first event is travelers told stories of wealthy African kingdoms. The second cause event was Europeans improved their ships so they can go on long voyages. And the third event, which was the cause, was Portuguese sailors set up trading posts on African coasts. And those 3 events were the effect of Europeans traveling to Africa and trading with Africans. All right, so if you don't have those things, you can add them on now. All right. Okay, so you're going to add that on your graphic organizer now. All right. Once you have completed the graphic organizer, we're going to go into our exit ticket for the day. So I'm going to go to my exit ticket right now. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to do when you go through your exit ticket, you're going to put in your name. Then you're going to put in your teacher's name. So the first question is, what was the effect of European travelers telling stories of wealthy African kingdoms? Your second question is, what was the cause of the long ocean trips being possible in the 1400s? And your last question is, what was the effect of Portuguese sailors setting up trade posts along Africa's coastline? So those are your 3 exit ticket questions. Now remember, we are going to go over the objective just so you remember what your objective is and what you were supposed to learn with this lesson. So our objective for today was to be able to complete a graphic organizer with determining the major events in the text, the relationship between those events, including identifying the relationships between cause and effect within a text. All right. So after you have completed your exit ticket question and you have completed your graphic organizer, go ahead and complete the lesson on, we're going to go ahead and complete the lesson that is on explaining relationships in historical texts. All right, thank you, boys and girls, and have a good rest of your day.